You know, sometimes I wonder, what if the happiness we've been chasing all our lives has been quietly waiting inside us this whole time? We run, we reach, we chase things that sparkle, money, approval, success, and yet, late at night, when the noise settles, there's still that quiet emptiness inside. Maybe you felt it too. Maybe happiness isn't something we have to find out there. Maybe it's something we remember, something we come home to. So before we go any further, take a deep breath with me. Just one. Feel that? That's life right here, right now. And that's where our story begins. If you've ever felt like life moves too fast, that your mind can't stop replaying what happened or worrying about what's next, you're not alone. We all do it. Thinking, planning, regretting, hoping, while the only real moment we have quietly slips away. The Buddha once said, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." Such simple words. Yet they hold everything we forget. The truth is, this moment, this single breath, is the only place life ever really happens. The past is gone. The future isn't here yet. And the only place we can actually live is right here. I remember a friend telling me how he used to wake up already anxious about the day ahead. Before his feet touched the floor, his mind was racing. Deadlines, calls, bills, everything but the present. Then one day, after months of burnout, he decided to try something new. Each morning, before touching his phone, he sat by his window and just watched the sunlight creep through the blinds. No music, no coffee yet, just breathing. He told me that for the first time in years, he actually felt alive before the day began. He said, "I thought peace was something I'd find once everything was in order. Turns out, peace was waiting for me the whole time. I just never slowed down long enough to notice it." Maybe that's how it is for all of us. We keep waiting for a better moment. The weekend, the vacation, the promotion, the someday, thinking then we'll be happy. But that someday never really arrives. Because every day, happiness is quietly asking, what about now? It's in the small, ordinary things. The warmth of a morning cup of coffee, a smile from someone you love, a breeze through an open window. We overlook them because they don't shout. They whisper. And maybe that's the lesson. Real happiness doesn't make noise. It doesn't need to be earned or chased or proven. It's already here, tucked between one breath and the next. But to feel it, we have to slow down. We have to let go of the need to fix or control everything. We have to stop thinking happiness will come later, and instead, let it touch us now. I get it, it's not easy. Our minds are restless by nature. They wander the past, searching for what could have been, or run toward the future, building stories about what if. But every time we catch ourselves and gently return to the present, no judgment, no pressure, just noticing, we come a little closer to peace. And it's okay if you forget. We all do. Just remember, you can always start again. Every breath is a new beginning. You might try this. The next time you're walking outside, instead of scrolling your phone or thinking about your to-do list, just look around. Notice how the light hits the trees. Feel the air on your skin. Listen to the rhythm of your own footsteps. Don't analyze it, don't label it. Just be there. You'll be surprised how alive that simple act feels. Sometimes people think focusing on the present means ignoring reality or forgetting responsibilities. But that's not it at all. Being present doesn't mean we stop planning or caring. It means we do those things from peace, not from panic. It's the difference between running toward life and letting life walk beside you. There's a quiet freedom in learning to just be. You start to see that you don't need everything to be perfect to feel okay. You don't need to have it all figured out to feel grateful. You just need to be here, right now, breathing. So maybe tonight, before you close your eyes, instead of scrolling until you fall asleep, take one slow breath and whisper to yourself, this moment is enough. Because it really is. And if these little reflections speak to something in your heart, I'd love for you to stay connected. Subscribe if you want, not out of habit, but because you want to keep walking this quiet road of peace together. Every week, we'll keep exploring moments like this. Soft reminders to slow down, to breathe, to remember who we already are. So, take another breath with me. Feel it rise. Feel it fall. That's life, flowing through you. Simple, peaceful, alive. And maybe, just maybe, that's where happiness has been hiding all along. You know, one of the hardest things in life is learning to let go. Not because we don't want peace, but because we build our identity around holding on. We hold on to memories that hurt, to people who left, to mistakes we made years ago. We replay conversations that are long over, and somehow we convince ourselves that by doing so, we can change what already happened. But we can't, and maybe that's okay. Maybe letting go isn't about forgetting. It's about forgiving yourself for carrying something too heavy for too long. I once heard someone say that pain is like a guest who comes to visit. At first, you open the door and welcome it in. You talk about it. You try to understand it. But the problem is, most of us let it stay too long. We give it room in our hearts. Feed it every day and wonder why it never leaves. But when we learn to gently show it the door, not with anger, but with gratitude for what it taught us, something soft happens. Space opens up. Light comes in. And in that light, peace quietly returns. Maybe you've noticed how the more we cling to something, whether it's an old grudge, a lost dream, or even the idea of who we think we should be, the more restless our minds become. That's because attachment is like holding water in your hand. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Life was never meant to be held so tightly. It was meant to be touched, to be felt, and then released. Sometimes we mistake letting go for losing, but what if it's actually gaining? When you let go of what no longer serves you, you make space for what truly belongs. You begin to see that the past doesn't define you, it only shaped you. And you can thank it for the lesson, then walk forward lighter, freer, softer. I remember talking to an elderly man once. He told me, when I was young, I thought strength meant holding everything together. Now I know it means knowing when to let it fall apart. That stayed with me, because maybe strength isn't about control. Maybe it's about trust, trusting that life knows what it's doing, even when we don't. Letting go doesn't happen in a single moment. It's not a switch you flip. It's more like the slow untying of a knot in your chest, one gentle breath at a time. Some days, you'll think you've moved on, and then a smell of song or a memory pulls you back. That's okay. Healing doesn't move in straight lines. It curves, it loops, it pauses. But as long as you keep breathing, keep showing up, keep choosing peace over pain, you're still moving forward. So if you're holding something heavy tonight, maybe it's time to loosen your grip just a little. You don't have to drop it all at once. Just breathe and whisper to yourself, it's okay. I'm ready to release this. And when you do, even a little bit, you'll feel how light can find its way back in. And maybe in that small space of letting go, you'll discover something beautiful, freedom. Not the loud kind that demands to be seen, but the quiet kind that hums softly in your heart, reminding you that you're safe, you're whole, and you've always been enough. If this message feels like something your heart needed today, stay close. Subscribe, not just to hear more, but to remind yourself that you're not walking through this alone. Every story, every whisper we share here is a gentle reminder that peace isn't out there somewhere. It's already within you, waiting for you to return. So, take another slow breath. Feel it leave your body. That's the sound of release. That's the feeling of peace gently finding its way home. You know, when we finally start to let go, something interesting happens. We begin to see life as it really is, not as we wish it to be. It's like wiping dust off a window that's been foggy for years. Suddenly, things appear softer, simpler. The colors are still the same, but somehow everything feels more alive. That's what awareness does. It turns ordinary moments into sacred ones. The Buddha often spoke about mindfulness, but not in a complicated, spiritual way. It's simply the art of noticing, being awake to what's happening right here, right now, without judging it, without wishing it were different. You don't need to sit cross-legged or light incense to be mindful. You can do it while washing dishes, walking your dog, or sipping your morning coffee. It's about being where your feet are, even if your heart feels elsewhere. I think one of the most beautiful parts of awareness is that it allows us to meet life with softness instead of resistance. You see, most of our suffering doesn't come from what happens. It comes from how we fight against what happens. We want things to go our way. We want people to act the way we expect. And when they don't, we tighten inside, we push, we resist. But what if we just allowed things to be as they are for a moment? Not forever, just for now. Maybe we'd find a kind of peace that doesn't depend on everything being perfect. I once met a woman who lost her job after 20 years. She told me that at first she was angry, terrified, ashamed. Her whole identity was wrapped up in that work. But instead of running from the pain, she decided to face it. Each morning, she sat quietly with her fear, breathing with it, not judging it. And slowly, something shifted. She said, "I realized my fear was my enemy. It was my teacher. It showed me how deeply I was clinging to something that no longer fit who I was." Within months, she found a new path, one that felt more aligned with her heart. That's what awareness does. It turns endings into openings. It shows us that beneath every difficulty is a message asking to be heard. And when we stop running long enough to listen, we begin to understand that life isn't against us. It's guiding us, even through pain. Sometimes awareness feels uncomfortable. It can show us things we've been avoiding, our loneliness, our anger, our grief. But when we meet those feelings with kindness instead of judgment, they begin to soften. You don't have to fix them. You just have to sit with them like an old friend who's been waiting for you to finally listen. And maybe that's what healing really is. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of understanding. When you learn to stay with yourself, to really stay, even when things feel messy or uncertain, you start to trust life again. You start to see that every breath is a bridge from fear to peace. So the next time your mind starts spinning with worry, try this. Pause for just a moment. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice your breath moving in and out. Remind yourself, I am here, and this moment is enough. You don't need to solve everything right now. You just need to come home to yourself, to this breath, to this now. And if these words feel like a quiet reminder you've been needing, stay a while. Subscribe if you want, not just to follow along, but to remind yourself that awareness is something we can practice together. Each time you return, each time you listen, it's like lighting a small candle in the dark. And maybe together, those tiny lights can help us all see a little more clearly. So take one more breath, slow and gentle. Let the air fill your chest. Let it leave softly. That's awareness. That's life noticing itself through you. And maybe that's all we ever really need, to just be awake, here, now. You know, when you start to live with awareness, something in you begins to soften. You stop rushing through your days as if life were a race you had to win. You begin to notice the small, quiet things that were always there but somehow went unseen. The warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of rain tapping on a roof, the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. These tiny moments, the ones we used to overlook, start to feel like treasures. And maybe that's because they remind us that peace isn't found in grand events. It's hidden in the simplicity of being alive. There's a certain beauty in learning to live slowly, not lazy or careless, but gently, intentionally. Most of us have spent so long chasing what's next that we've forgotten how to enjoy what's now. We eat without tasting. We listen without hearing. We live without really feeling. But the truth is, joy doesn't come from adding more to our lives. It comes from paying attention to what's already here. I remember meeting an old monk once, years ago. He had this calm presence that felt almost unreal, like standing next to a still lake on a quiet morning. I asked him how he managed to stay so peaceful, and he smiled and said, "I do one thing at a time, and I do it with my whole heart." That stayed with me, because that's what most of us forget to do. We live scattered, our hands in one place, our minds somewhere else, and our hearts nowhere to be found. So maybe peace isn't something you have to find. Maybe it's what happens when you stop trying to be everywhere else. When you allow yourself to just be here, completely, even in the simplest of moments. Try it sometime. When you drink your tea, just drink your tea. Feel the warmth against your hands, the taste on your tongue. When you walk, just walk. Notice the way your body moves, the ground beneath your feet. It sounds small, but it changes everything. And you'll notice something beautiful. The more present you are, the lighter you feel. Because when you're here, really here, you're not dragging the weight of the past or the worries of the future with you. You're free, even if just for a breath. And that's enough. That's where life truly lives, in this single, unrepeatable moment. Of course, there will still be days when you forget, when your mind runs wild, when everything feels heavy again. That's okay. Don't fight it. Just notice it, breathe through it, and gently come back. Awareness isn't about being perfect. It's about returning, over and over, no matter how many times you drift away. Sometimes you'll find peace in silence. Sometimes it'll come in laughter. Other times, it'll just be in the soft knowing that you're still trying, still showing up, still breathing through it all. That's enough. That's more than enough. And if this kind of quiet reflection feels like something your heart needs more often, I'd love for you to stay. Subscribe, not because you have to, but because you want a place to come back to, a small corner calm in a noisy world. Each time you listen, each time you pause here, you're choosing stillness over chaos, presence over distraction. So take another deep breath right here, right now. Feel the air move in. Feel it move out. Let the world slow down around you just for a moment, because this simple, peaceful breath is your reminder that life isn't waiting somewhere else. It's happening right here in you right now. You know, one of the most powerful moments in anyone's journey comes when they finally stop asking, "When will I be happy?" and start realizing that happiness isn't something to reach. It's something to notice. It's not hiding in the future or locked away behind some achievement. It's right here, waiting quietly in the middle of your ordinary days. But we miss it because we're too busy searching for it in places it never lived. Maybe true happiness isn't about excitement or constant smiles. Maybe it's a gentle warmth that fills your chest when you wake up and feel grateful for another sunrise. Maybe it's the calm you feel when you stop comparing yourself to others, or when you finally forgive someone, not for them, but for your own peace. Sometimes happiness is just sitting in silence, feeling your heartbeat, realizing you're still here, still breathing, still becoming. There was a woman I once met who had lost almost everything: her home, her marriage, her sense of direction. She told me that at first she thought her life was over. But one morning, while sitting outside a small cafe, she noticed a little bird singing on a fence. She said it was the first time she had truly heard something in months. That bird, she said, reminded me that life goes on, even when it feels like you can't. That tiny moment became her turning point. From that day on, she promised herself to look for small joys, no matter how fragile they seemed. And over time, those little moments became her new life. That's the secret, isn't it? Happiness doesn't always arrive as fireworks or big miracles. More often, it comes quietly, disguised as an ordinary moment, a shared smile, the sound of laughter, the way sunlight dances on your floor in the late afternoon. We just have to slow down enough to see it. And maybe that's why we struggle so much, because we're taught to chase, to collect, to achieve. We build our lives around more, thinking the next thing will complete us. But when we pause, when we breathe, when we let ourselves be enough just as we are, we start to see that happiness was never missing. We were just moving too fast to feel it. There's a kind of freedom that comes when you stop trying to make every moment extraordinary and instead learn to find beauty in the simple ones. You begin to see that joy isn't something you get. It's something you allow. It flows naturally when you stop resisting life, when you stop needing things to be perfect before you can appreciate them. So, if you're listening right now and wonder when things will finally feel okay, maybe start by looking around. Notice what's already here. The way the air feels against your skin, the sound of your breath, the stillness between your thoughts. That's where peace lives, not in the next big thing, but in this small, quiet moment. And if this message feels like a soft reminder you needed today, I'd love for you to stay close. Subscribe if you want, not because it's what people do, but because this space is a place for gentle reminders like this, a place to breathe, to reflect, to feel human again. So take one last breath with me right now. Inhale peace. Exhale everything else. And maybe whisper to yourself, I don't have to chase happiness anymore. I can just let it find me. Because sometimes the moment you stop searching is the moment you realize you already have everything you need. There's a beautiful story about a young monk who once carried deep regret for his past and constant fear for his future. Every night he lay awake, haunted by what he had done and terrified of what might come. His teacher, seeing his pain, took him outside and pointed to a tree standing quietly under the moonlight. "Do you see that tree?" he said softly. "It stands tall, rooted in the earth, sway with the wind but never fighting it. It doesn't cling to yesterday's sunlight or worry about tomorrow's rain. It simply exists fully, peacefully right here." That night, something changed in the young monk. He realized that peace isn't something we chase. It's what remains when we stop running from our past, from our fears, from ourselves. And that realization opened his heart to something even deeper: compassion. Compassion, in its truest form, isn't just about helping others. It's about seeing yourself in them. It's about recognizing that every person you meet is carrying something you can't see: a quiet heartbreak, a silent dream, a story that shaped who they are. When we act with compassion, we stop separating ourselves from others. We stop judging so quickly. We start listening more deeply. Maybe you've noticed it too, how a simple act of kindness can change the whole energy of a day. Holding the door for someone, offering a smile, forgiving instead of fighting. These little gestures don't just heal the other person. They heal you. They soften the hard edges inside your heart that life has carved over the years. They remind you that no matter how chaotic the world becomes, love is still stronger. The Buddha once said that compassion is the greatest form of wisdom. And when you think about it, that makes sense. Because to be truly compassionate, you must understand, not just with your mind, but with your heart. You must see beyond the surface, into the shared humanity that connects us all. There was an old man who once told me that after his wife passed away, he found it hard to talk to people. Everything reminded him of what he'd lost. But one afternoon, he saw a young woman crying on a park bench. Without thinking, he sat beside her, handed her a small flower he'd picked, and simply said, "It gets softer with time." She smiled through her tears, and in that moment, something healed in both of them. Compassion, even shared between strangers, has that kind of quiet power. So maybe we can practice that one small step at a time. When you feel lonely, reach out to someone who might need a gentle word. When you're angry, take a breath before you speak. When you're hurt, try to remember that others are hurting too. Compassion doesn't always fix things, but always softens them. And maybe that's all life really asks of us, to keep softening, to keep choosing understanding over judgment, love over fear, presence over pride. The more we do, the lighter we become. If this message speaks to something inside you, I hope you'll stay here with me. Subscribe if you like, and we'll keep walking through these quiet moments together. This space isn't about teaching or preaching. It's about remembering what it means to be human. So tonight, before you sleep, maybe whisper this to yourself. May I be gentle with others. May I be gentle with myself. Because compassion isn't just what you give. It's also what you allow yourself to receive. And when you live that way, every step you take becomes a little bit softer, a little bit lighter, and a little bit more peaceful. There's something profoundly beautiful about the idea of balance. Not the kind that comes from perfection, but the kind that grows quietly when you stop swinging between extremes. The Buddha called it the middle way, the path that leads us away from chaos and closer to peace. And honestly, the more I live, the more I see how true that is. Life isn't meant to be lived in the constant rush of too much or the emptiness of too little. It's meant to be felt right here in the middle, where things are real and steady and enough. Maybe you've noticed how easy it is to lose that balance. One moment, you're chasing after goals so hard you forget to breathe. The next, you're so burned out you can't move. We live in a world that celebrates excess, more work, more success, more everything. But somewhere in all that noise, we forget that peace doesn't shout. It whispers. It lives in moderation, in knowing when to give and when to rest, when to speak and when to listen. The middle way isn't about denying yourself or living without joy. It's about living with awareness. It's eating until you're nourished, not stuffed. It's working hard, but knowing when to step away and watch the sunset. It's caring deeply about people and things, but not letting them control your peace. It's being in the world, but not consumed by it. There's a story about two strings on a lute. One was wound too tightly and snapped. The other was too loose and couldn't make a sound. But the string that was just right, balanced, steady, created the most beautiful music. That's the heart of the middle way. It's not about avoiding life's music. It's about tuning yourself so you can play in harmony with it. I remember a time in my life when I thought happiness meant saying yes to everything, every opportunity, every invitation, every expectation. But somewhere along the way, I lost my peace. I was running on empty, pretending I was fine. One evening, I sat by a lake, watching how calm the water was, still yet alive. It hit me that peace isn't found in doing everything. It's found in doing what matters with presence and care. That moment became a quiet promise to myself, to live slower, gentler, more balanced. So maybe that's your invitation too, to find your balance again, to stop believing that you need to live on either end of the extremes. It's okay to rest. It's okay to say no. It's okay to choose peace over pressure. Because when you do, you'll start noticing that joy doesn't live at the finish line. It's waiting for you right here, in this breath, in this heartbeat. The middle way teaches us that happiness isn't about what we gain or what we give up. It's about how we walk, steady, mindful, and free. And maybe, just maybe, that's all any of us are really searching for, a rhythm that feels honest, a pace that feels like home. If this speaks to you, if you've been longing for a little more balance in your days, maybe subscribe and stay a while. This space is for hearts that are tired of running, a place to rest, to remember that peace doesn't live out there. It's right here in the middle, waiting quietly for you to return. So tonight, as you breathe, maybe say this softly to yourself: I don't need to rush. I don't need to resist. I just need to be. And in that stillness, you might just hear the faint, beautiful melody of your own middle way. There's something sacred about stillness, not the kind that comes from silence alone, but the kind that grows when your mind finally stops fighting itself. That's where meditation begins. It's not some fancy practice reserved for monks on mountaintops. It's simply the art of coming home to yourself. And maybe that's what most of us are really missing. Not more noise, not more goals, but a quiet space inside where we can breathe and just be. When I first started meditating, I thought I was doing it wrong. My thoughts wouldn't stop racing. I'd sit there trying to be calm, but my mind would wander everywhere, to my to-do list, to old memories, to things I hadn't even done yet. I thought, maybe I'm just not built for peace. But over time, I learned that meditation isn't about stopping your thoughts. It's about learning to watch them without getting carried away. Like clouds drifting across the sky, they come, they go, and you remain steady as the sky itself. The Buddha once said, quiet the mind and the soul will speak. And that's the truth of it. When we slow down enough, the noise starts to fade, and what's left is something softer, something real. You start noticing the things you used to rush past, the sound of your breath, the rhythm of your heartbeat, the warmth of sunlight on your skin. In that stillness, you realize how much beauty has always been here, patiently waiting for you to notice. There's a story of a monk who once asked his teacher, Master, how can I find peace? The teacher didn't speak. He simply poured a cup of tea until it overflowed. You see, he said, when your cup is too full, nothing more can enter. Empty your cup. That's what meditation does. It helps you empty the clutter, the worries, the comparisons, the noise, so something quieter, wiser can flow in. And maybe you don't need hours every day to start. Maybe it's just 5 minutes in the morning before the world wakes up, or a few deep breaths before bed. Maybe it's pausing while you're washing the dishes, or listening, truly listening, to the sound of rain. Meditation doesn't have to look perfect. It just has to feel honest. Over time, those small moments start to change you. You begin to notice when your mind starts spinning, and instead of getting swept away, you breathe. You see things more clearly, react less, love more. The storms still come. Life never stops being life. But inside, you're calmer, stronger, wiser. And that's the quiet miracle of it. You don't just become peaceful. You start carrying peace wherever you go, like a candle that keeps burning even when the wind blows. So if you've been feeling scattered or overwhelmed, maybe this is your sign to pause. Close your eyes. Breathe in deeply. Let your shoulders soften. Feel your heartbeat. It's proof that you're alive right here, right now. And in that small, tender space between breaths, remind yourself, I am safe. I am enough. I am home. If this space feels like something you want to hold on to, these gentle pauses, these little reminders, you can subscribe and stay connected, not for algorithms, but for peace. Because the truth is, meditation isn't just about sitting still. It's about remembering that within you, there's a calm that the world can't touch. So tonight, before you close your eyes, maybe whisper this softly. I let go. I return to myself. And in that whisper, you'll find what you've been searching for all along. Not silence, but serenity. Sometimes, peace doesn't come with a grand realization. It comes quietly, in small, ordinary moments when you stop trying so hard to fix everything. Maybe it's in the way sunlight hits your window in the morning, or the way your breath feels when you finally exhale after a long day. Maybe peace isn't something you find at all. Maybe it's something that slowly remembers you when you stop running. There's a soft kind of wisdom that grows from letting go, not in giving up, but in finally allowing life to unfold without forcing it. We spend so much of our time chasing happiness, success, understanding, and sometimes we forget that the calm we're seeking has been sitting patiently inside us all along. You don't need to go anywhere special to feel it. You just need to stop, breathe, and listen. Life will never stop being messy. People will still misunderstand you. Things will still change without warning. But the beauty of this path, this gentle Buddhist way of seeing, is that you begin to understand that the chaos outside doesn't have to shake the peace within. You stop reacting to everything that moves, and you start watching, like a lake that stays still even as leaves fall on its surface. When I think about peace now, I don't picture perfection. I picture acceptance. The quiet strength of someone who can smile even when things don't go their way. The kind of heart that doesn't need to win every argument or control every outcome to feel okay. That's real peace, not in the absence of pain, but in the presence of stillness within it. And maybe you don't feel it all the time. That's okay. Nobody does. Some days, you'll wake up calm and centered. Other days, you'll feel lost, anxious, or tired. But that's the practice. Returning to peace again and again, even when you wander. Each time you breathe and choose to soften instead of harden, you're building a kind of quiet courage. Sometimes I think of it like the ocean. The waves rise, crash, and disappear. But deep down, the water is always still. That stillness, that depth is your true self. And the more you touch it, the less you're shaken by the storms above. So if you're listening to this right now, maybe take a moment. Feel your breath. Feel your chest rise and fall. The world can wait for a minute. There's nowhere you need to be more than here. And if these words bring you even a small sense of calm, if they remind you that you're not alone on this journey, you can subscribe and stay close. Not just to this channel, but to this feeling, this gentle reminder that peace isn't out there somewhere. It's in you. It always has been. So when life feels heavy, when you don't know what's next, just pause. Maybe whisper to yourself, I'll be okay, because you will. You've made it through every storm before, and you'll make it through this one too. And when the noise fades, you'll find something waiting for you in the quiet. Not a new version of yourself, but the one that's been there all along. Calm, steady, whole. You know, there comes a time when you stop searching for the perfect life and start noticing the quiet beauty of the one you already have. Maybe that's what real wisdom feels like. Not a loud revelation, but a soft, steady knowing that everything you've been chasing has always been within reach. It's in the breath you just took. It's in the simple grace of being here, right now. The Buddha once said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." And the older I get, the more that line feels like a homecoming. Because the truth is, no amount of success, no amount of control can fill that quiet space in your heart where peace is supposed to live. You can only return to it again and again, each time you let go of what you can't change. Maybe that's why this journey isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you already are, before the worries, before the expectations, before the noise. You were born peaceful. You were born enough. Life just taught you to forget for a while. So, if you're listening to this and your heart feels a little tired, let this be a reminder. You don't need to do anything right now. You don't need to fix yourself. Just breathe. Let the air move through you like a wave, washing away the weight of the day. And as you exhale, maybe whisper softly, "It's okay," because it is. It really is. Every step you've taken, even the hard ones, has brought you here to this exact moment of stillness. And maybe this is where you start again, not with force, but with kindness, not with fear, but with trust. Trust that peace isn't something fragile. It's something that grows stronger every time you choose softness over struggle, forgiveness over resentment, patience over panic. And as you sit in this calm, even if just for a minute, notice how your body feels lighter. Notice how your breath feels warmer. That's what peace does. It doesn't erase the pain. It simply reminds you that you're bigger than it, like the sky that holds every storm without ever breaking. If these moments we share help you feel a little closer to that calm, a little more gentle with yourself, I'd love for you to subscribe. Not because of numbers, but because this space is meant for souls like yours, for people learning, slowly and tenderly, to live from a heart. So tonight, before you drift off to sleep, place a hand over your heart and feel that steady rhythm. That's life, still moving through you, still offer you another chance to begin again tomorrow. No matter what happened, no matter what's waiting ahead, peace is never gone. It's always here, quietly waiting for you to return. Maybe not today, maybe not perfectly, but someday, when you're ready, you'll sit down, breathe deeply, and realize you've been home all along.